So we had some big elections last night for both the Democrats and the Republicans. Now, on the Republican side, the Trump steamroller rolls on. So he won Michigan by over 10 points. Very solid victory. He won Mississippi by over 10 points. I predicted those two correctly. The polling showed that he was going to win those, and he was going to win them fairly comfortably. Now, Idaho, I predicted that it would be close between Trump and Cruz because it's a caucus, and Cruz has shown that he does very well in caucuses. It turns out that that's not true. It wasn't very close, and Cruz actually took that pretty comfortably. So we have Trump taking Michigan, Mississippi, Cruz taking Idaho, and then also randomly we had Hawaii go to Trump. Now, I'm very surprised by that. There was no data, no information, no polling that I was able to find on Hawaii, and I had guessed that Marco Rubio was going to win Hawaii, or perhaps, I was thinking maybe Kasich too. But in reality, I guess the people of Hawaii are exactly like many mainland Americans who are bigoted in their own respect. So I find that hilarious that people in Hawaii voted for Donald Trump because it's conceivable that he would look at them and go, "They're Muslim. Ban them from the mainland in the U.S. We don't want them here." But still, he won, and he won Hawaii pretty comfortably. So Trump really devastated last night yet again. In terms of the delegate count, Cruz is hanging in there, but the thing about the Cruz is there's really no conceivable path forward for him, and this is the case that I've been making for weeks now, and this is the debate that I got in with Cenk when I was on TYT for the Super Tuesday coverage. He only has appeal in super conservative states with really old evangelical white dudes. When you get him out of that, it's not even like he comes in second when you get outside of that context. He comes in like third or fourth. So, we're running out of Cruz-like states where they would lean in his direction, which is why I called him the Rick Santorum of this election cycle. And eventually it's going to be the Donald Trump show all day long. I mean, it already is the Donald Trump show all day long, but Marco Rubio had an abysmal night. He finished third, fourth, he shit the bed. I mean, he should drop out before Florida before he gets embarrassed where Trump is going to probably beat him in his home state. And Kasich, I think he's still way too far back. By the way, Rubio got 0 delegates last night. I think Kasich got about 16, so Kasich did better than Rubio last night. But again, for Kasich, like, what's he banking on? He's banking on, I'm going to win Ohio, and then I'll go on a run. Maybe, but not really. Like, okay, I can see that some of the states later on do favor a Kasich kind of candidate, but he's so far back already that what's he going to do? It doesn't seem like it's possible for him to, climb the mountain. So, I've been saying that I've been going back and forth. I had Donald Trump at 80% a few weeks ago to win the nomination. Then I moved it up to 85% or a little more. Then I said this week I'll stay at exactly 85%. Now I feel like it's ticking up a little bit. 86%, 87% chance to win the nomination. So it's looking good for Trump. He's continuing to dominate here. And, the only hope really for the Republican establishment is a brokered convention. So what would happen if they do that is they would want to keep everybody in the race already. So they wouldn't want anybody else to drop out. They wouldn't want Rubio to drop out, Cruz, or Kasich. They want to keep everybody in there. And then the goal would be simply to try to prevent Donald from getting the number of delegates to win the nomination, which is 1,200 and something. And if that's the case, and then you go to the convention, and he has a plurality, so he's number one in delegates, but he didn't get the required number of delegates, then they could try some weird fucked up shit where they do a brokered convention. I mean, this is what Romney has been trying to get out there recently. He says it's a, quote, realistic scenario. He gave a speech against Trump recently. He was caught whispering at dinner with Paul Ryan. There's no doubt that they're trying something, but if they were to try something in that respect, man, the Republican Party, they're already kind of in civil war right now, but it would just tank them. And what would happen is, if they were to pull it off and give the nomination to somebody else, which seems unlikely even if they try it, well, then you'd just have Donald Trump run as a third-party candidate and hand the election over to the Democrat. So It's a fascinating scenario, man, and watching this unfold, this is like nothing we've seen, certainly in modern political history. But then we turn over to the Democratic side here, and boy, what a night. What a night, what a night. So Hillary Clinton dominated in Mississippi. Mississippi, of course, was expected to go to Hillary overwhelmingly. It did go to Hillary overwhelmingly. She picked up many, many delegates there. I believe she had about 80% of the vote or thereabouts. So certainly nothing to scoff at. Now, remember, it is true, though, that Hillary's biggest leads and where she dominates the most, southern states. Southern states have higher African-American percentages, and the African-American vote has been going to her overwhelmingly in this election. Now, recently, Bernie's been chipping away at her lead there, but obviously not enough to be competitive and even make it like 50-50 in the black community. So she won Mississippi overwhelmingly, but Michigan was supposed to go to Hillary. Now, again, for my own predictions here, this was one where I said, I think it's going to go to Hillary, but I do think I thought it was going to be closer than most pundits were leading on. Now, when you go to the polls, the Real Clear Politics average, when you go to 538, which usually has a good track record of getting the elections right, 538 had a 99% chance that Hillary Clinton was going to win Michigan. And you had, on Real Clear Politics, Hillary's lead was 21.4% on average. On average. So in other words, that's not like one poll that's an outlier where, hey, Hillary's up by 21.4%. That's amazing. When you averaged out all the polls done in Michigan, Hillary was up by 21.4%. Now, again, why did I think it was going to be closer than most pundits believed? Because the recent polling showed that he was back only 5 percentage points, and I thought you had to weigh that into account a little more than the longer average because he's getting his name recognition up and he's been doing more debates and stuff like that. So it was going to be closer than most pundits were leading on. But I'm incredibly happy to report to you guys today, as if you don't already know, but Bernie Sanders won Michigan. Bernie won Michigan in what is literally the biggest upset in primary history. I believe the previous number was about 17% or 18%, overcoming that average of being down in the polls. Again, 21.4% he was down. He won Michigan. Okay, guys, this is huge. This means we really have an election moving forward. Now, I had Bernie Sanders at about 40% to win the nomination going into yesterday, and for the past week or so, I've been saying he's about 40%. Hillary Clinton's about 60%. If you listen to the mainstream pundits, they'll say it's 85% chance for her. Again, I think it's more 60-40. Now, here's the thing. Moving forward, so on March 15, we have a bunch of elections. You got to call it like it is, and when you look at the polling data for those states, Bernie's down in every state that we're doing on March 15th. He's down in every state. But soon as you get past March 15th, then it's wall-to-wall Bernie. So here's Hillary's dirty little secret that the mainstream media is not telling you, or they're not going into detail about it. She's running out of southern states. The southern states are her firewall. Remember, I just told you she wins the black vote overwhelmingly. Well, she's running out of southern states where she wins overwhelmingly. In the rest of the country, it is much more competitive, and after March 15th, Bernie becomes a favorite in many of those states. So she's in a little bit of trouble here. Now, again, if you had to ask me what would I make the percentages today, I still have it 60% for Hillary, 40% for Bernie Sanders. I mean, maybe he ticked it a little bit in the other direction, but, there's still a bunch of stuff to overcome. But another aspect of this is, how the fuck are we supposed to even make predictions or know what's going to happen when you had him overcome a 21.4% deficit? So, in other words, look, my job is everybody knows my bias, everybody knows what candidate I favor, but I'm a numbers guy, I'm a facts guy, I'm a data guy, which is why I predicted the other day that Hillary was going to win Michigan. I thought it was going to be closer than other people said, but I thought she was going to win Michigan. That didn't happen. So now when you look at the polls for, Ohio, for example, Illinois, 538 even had an article about this. They had Hillary at a 99% chance to win Michigan. They're like, okay, I mean, it's possible that this was a fluke and Bernie Sanders took Michigan and then we're going to go right back to the polls being almost spot on, which usually they are spot on. Or pollsters are kind of missing something. And, you know, the polls that we have for places like Ohio and Illinois where Hillary's leading and leading by quite a bit, that might be just as useless as the information that we had for Michigan. We don't know now. We don't know. And I'll be the first to admit to you guys, I love telling you guys when I do know, but now I have to tell you the truth. I don't know either. So all my predictions, you know, I was 86% going into yesterday. Yesterday I got Hawaii wrong, Michigan wrong on the Democratic side, and Idaho wrong, though not all that wrong because I thought it was going to be between Cruz and Trump, and it was. So I got 3 right, I think, and 3 wrong or thereabouts. My predictions were good, pretty good going into yesterday, 86%. Now it's like, where do I make my predictions? How am I going to go to the Real Clear Politics average? How am I going to go to 538? How am I going to look at all the data and get an accurate prediction when Bernie Sanders just showed us he has the potential to override 21.4% deficits? That's unheard of. That's unreal. That's unthinkable. So then the question becomes, obviously, well, how is that? And why is that? I mean, that's lunacy. That hasn't happened ever in primary history in the United States. Well, there's a few potential answers to that. As Adam Johnson from Alternet pointed out on Twitter, perhaps this is, you know, the debates. Perhaps this is the debate that happened the other night in Flint, where Hillary did end up using some dirty tactics. Certainly her surrogates used dirty tactics when they tried to pretend like Bernie Sanders is racist for using the word ghetto. Bernie Sanders, who marched with MLK and literally protested segregation. You're going to say he's racist? Only if the word racist has no meaning anymore. Or, oh, he's sexist because he interrupted Hillary because Hillary interrupted him. He said, excuse me, don't interrupt me. Oh my God, sexist. Obviously, you have to allow a woman to interrupt you or you're sexist. Well, you know, when the surrogates make that argument and they're loud and they're aggressive and it's such a bogus argument, maybe people saw that and they went, fuck you, and then they went to the polls and voted for Bernie Sanders. Or, what I think is much more likely, the one theme that happened in the debate over and over and over and over, which I said made it so that Bernie won the debate overwhelmingly, and the Snap polls agreed with me. He kept bringing up her corruption. He kept bringing up the Wall Street money she takes. He kept saying, I don't have a super PAC. She does. I'm going to represent you. And what I mean by that is I'm going to get universal education. I'm going to get universal health care. Going down a laundry list of things that the overwhelming majority of the American people agree with. So there's a chance that at the debate, people heard that and they said, okay, I'm going to vote for this guy. And all the polling that was done previously was useless. And then furthermore, you always have to look at the methodology of the polls because there's a decent chance that the polls that had Hillary up, on average 21 percentage points, they were just done of just regular people, just, Democrats. Oh, okay, who do you like? And I don't know, I like Hillary. And they weren't necessarily polls of likely voters who are Democrats. There's a big difference if you just do a random call and talk to random Democrats. Hey, would you vote for Hillary? Yeah, I'd vote for Hillary, sure. Versus, are you a likely voter? No, but I'd vote for Hillary. Are you a likely voter? Yes. Well, who are you vote for? Bernie. So, there's obviously there could have been some issue with the methodology of the polls, or it was just the debate, or it was something that happened recently where it clicked and people were like, that's it. I gotta go vote for Bernie. So, and understand, guys, he's making this a thing. He's making this a real race here because on the issues, he's overwhelmingly better than Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has name recognition. She has celebrity status. I mean, she's been in Democratic politics her whole life. She's the default fallback option for people who aren't political junkies and don't know all the ins and outs of this stuff. But when you ask yourself, hey, what is Hillary Clinton's vision? What is it? What's her vision? I don't have a good answer for that. I think she wants the presidency because she wants the presidency. I think she's power hungry. I think she's a narcissist. I think most politicians are narcissists, but I think it's clear to see in the Clinton family and the Clinton dynasty that she's running for president for her. Whereas you look at Bernie Sanders, it looks like a guy who didn't even necessarily want to run for president, but he looks at the country and he's like, oh, so many fucking problems. All right, I'll run. Here's what we need to do, guys. I'm giving you what the solutions are. Vote for me. Feel the burn. Let's go here. I'm going to do the right thing by you, but you got to vote for the right guy. That would be me. So his vision is clear. It's ending corruption in America and implementing a social democratic system, making us more like Norway, Sweden, Denmark. He says this. Well, according to the polling data, the American people want that. So he has a clear vision. He says, hey, let's take our capitalist system and mix it with a better amount of socialism and prioritize in a more intelligent way. That's a vision. That's standing for something. Hillary's like, I don't know. Some days I'm more moderate and I'll say I'm more moderate. Some days I'll lie and say I'm more progressive. Most of the time I'll say, Obama was great. Obama was great. Incremental change, something, vote for me. Ignore the Wall Street money, vote for me. What's your vision? You don't have a vision. You're not selling anything. So these are some of the many reasons why she's a weaker candidate. Now, again, don't get me wrong. In Mississippi, I'm sorry, was it Mississippi? Yeah, it was Mississippi. I don't know why I was thinking Louisiana randomly. But in Mississippi, she ended up picking up so many delegates that she net 1 delegate yesterday, even though she lost Michigan. So you have to keep that in mind. She increased her delegate lead, even though it was a huge night for Bernie because he picked off a state that was somewhat unwinnable in the eyes of pretty much everybody. So what that means moving forward is perhaps he's competitive in Ohio, which, again, the polls show him way down, but who knows now? Perhaps he's competitive in Illinois, because of the demographic makeup and their location and what he's shown here in Michigan. So who knows, man? Perhaps he picks off some states on March 15th, which seems unlikely because, again, he's down in all the polls on March 15th. But here's what's for sure, and you're going to get all the pundits who are naysaying going into March 15th and after March 15th. Here's what's for sure. The polls post-March 15th, Hillary's in trouble. She is. There's a real race. Now, again, she's got one, last stand here where she'll get the pundit class on her side and they'll be screaming for Bernie to drop out if she sweeps on March 15th. But after March 15th, those are Bernie states through and through, man. So don't believe them when they say there's not a race. Again, my job is to tell you guys what the data is and give my opinion, but first, the data comes first. Who gives a shit what I think? It's more about the data. I still have Bernie at about 40% to win the nomination. Mainstream pundits will say he's only got a 10% chance, maybe, if that. I have him at about 40%, so he's still an underdog. But, we have a lot to look forward to going forward because post-March 15th and maybe even on March 15th, it gets really, really interesting.